Hello friends, I'm back out at my gear testing spot of Afton State Park. It's an unseasonably cold December day. It's about 15 degrees now with a forecast to get below zero tonight. I have never camped out in sub-zero temps, so I'm learning as I go here, and this testing ground is a good place to do it, where it's 1.5 miles back to my car and only 8 miles back home. So if things go upside down, I can bail. But it's a beautiful night here, and I look forward to doing some cold weather camping. Let's go. I made it to the campsite. I'm going to be the only one out at the campground camping out tonight, so it'll be nice and quiet. My plan was to get a fire started and to set up camp in that order. However, I'm seeing just a beautiful sunset over the ridge, so I'm going to go down that way and check it out a little bit and then come back. But interestingly enough, when I got to the campsite, the sign was still on, and the last person who's camped in this campsite was me back in November on Black Friday. So no one's been here since. It's getting dark out, it's getting colder out. So I want to show you how I plan to stay warm when it gets below zero tonight. So I have a 0-degree down top quilt that goes inside my hammock that has some extra down in there that should keep me warm in below zero temperatures. But I also am wearing insulated clothing, wool socks, that should help stay warm. But on the outside, I only have underquilts that I have a 10-degree underquilt and I have a 20-degree underquilt. So what I'm doing is I have my 10-degree orange hammock gear underquilt there. I have that closest to my body underneath the hammock. And then underneath that in the green here is a 20-degree war bonnet Wookiee hammock or underquilt. So between the two of them, I should stay warm. I may have to adjust a little bit after I get in to make sure that they're the proper tight and that they're lined up right, but I'm hoping that'll keep me warm tonight. I have my rain fly up here, I just haven't put down yet, but it definitely is getting chilly out here, so I'm gonna get that battened up and get my fire going and have a little dinner. It's about 6:30. In December. It's been dark for a couple hours, but I've learned a couple lessons already on my maiden voyage for sub-zero camping. The first thing that I learned is, of course, you can't put tent stakes in when the ground is frozen, right? So, you know, I've watched YouTube videos, and basically you put a dead man where you can bury a stick and tie your tarp out to it. So that's what I did. But the problem is that it's so cold out. Usually you rely on that stick melting and freezing into the ground. Well, that's not going to happen because, as you can see, the snow is very powdery since it's so cold. So I have a couple large logs that I was going to use for the fire that have my tie outs on, and I buried them a little bit here in the snow. So, you know, my rain fly isn't super tight, but it's not going to be windy tonight. So I don't think there's going to be much wind, or, you know, there isn't going to be the weight of snow on it. So I learned that. Next time when I come out, I'm going to bring more rope, because that way I would be able to tie it up to trees or some other things, just give me a little bit more flexibility. Of course, I could melt some snow and pour it over the logs, but that'd be a lot of work. So you can see I have processed up all the wood, have a nice campfire going. Another thing that I learned, you know, I was planning to use the Vaseline on cotton swabs to start the fire, and my matches weren't striking. Little wooden matches. The box just wasn't abrasive enough to light the match, and the lighter wasn't lighting. So tell me, do lighters not work when it's really cold out? I have no idea. So I stuck it in my pants and warmed the lighter up and got it going, but that cotton swab with Vaseline didn't start right away. And my good friend Toots always gives me crap about Vaseline and cotton swabs. It's not a good way to start a fire. And when that cotton swab wasn't lighting, I was going, oh crap, Toots is right. But then I got it to light with the help of a little bird's nest and a little patience. So yeah, so I'm all set up here. Got my chair ready. I have another coat there, but I'm warm enough right now. You know, they say when you build a fire, you build body heat 3 ways. First way is gathering the wood. Second is processing the wood. And the best one is just sitting by the campfire. So I've done the first 2 and plenty warm, but I'm sure once I cut down my activity, I'm gonna get a little colder. But as you can see, it went up to 11 degrees now. I have my thermometer here. It says 11. It's been 10 most of the night, but of course, as the night goes on, it's going to cool off, and most likely going to go below 0, and definitely the wind chill will be below 0. So I'm going to sit down and have some lunch, relax. Or lunch, I'm going to have some dinner, relax. One of the great things about camping in the winter is you get to sit around the campfire just like you do in the summer. You enjoy that heat just a little bit more since it's chilly out, but also you don't have to deal with any of the bugs. There's no mud, no screaming kids or anybody making noise. Oh, you're all by myself. This is awesome. But now it's time for some dinner. Here's how I made my dinner. Okay, my Subway this time was made by a Subway sandwich artist named Willie. He has to be the hairiest sandwich artist I've ever seen. Hair flying everywhere, big long beard, no hairnet, no hat. May have a couple surprises in this sub, but got my Subway Club, got my Doritos. I have some Christmas cookies. So If you've ever been camping with me, camping's all about being outdoors and eating lots of good food. So I think I'm all set. The one thing I haven't quite figured out yet is I have to get up in the middle of the night to pee. And that's really going to suck when it's cold out. Now, there are guys who bring a pipe or a tube with so they can just pee from their hammock without getting out of their warm comfort through the tube. And this week I actually asked another man on the internet how long his pee tube was. Seriously. A couple more things that I've learned on this trip. Just because you're warm doesn't mean that the things around you are warm. So I learned this quickly as I'm warm and cutting wood, and I grabbed the saw blade, which is metal. And of course I stuck a little bit, but nothing too serious, but it's a reminder of how cold it is out. Other things, don't wait too long to eat your Subway. Shoe is a little frozen. And other little things like my cookies, peanut butter cups, frozen. Now my iPhone, I've had this struggle for years, and comment down below if you got a tip. I've got like 4 layers on here. I have my iPhone against my body on the inner layer, so it should be staying warm, but it's dead. I do have to say my camera batteries have been performing excellent in this cold weather. So anyway, live and learn.
You feel that? Oh, shit.
Good morning, sunshines. It's about 7:15. It's 6 degrees outside. My thermometer said it did get down to 0 last night. Started a fire, warming up. Stayed pretty warm last night, other than after I got up to pee, my feet were a little cool the rest of the night, but my butt was fine. Like I said, I have a 0-degree sleeping bag, and I'm a cold sleeper, so anybody else probably would have been fine. I wasn't freezing, it was just a little cool. So a few other things I learned on this maiden voyage into Subzero hiking. These tent anchors that I put down, the dead men, they are pretty well frozen in place. So I did learn that you know, if you put those sticks down for your anchors, even though the snow is rather powdery and there is no melt, they'll melt in and anchor it. So maybe show up a little early, put those sticks in, and let them freeze up a little bit before you put tension on your rain fly. So last night after I went to bed, I laid in bed for 15 minutes, and I noticed that my butt was a little cold. So I felt my arm around to my underquilts, and you know, originally I had this Wookiee underquilt on the bottom and the hammock gear quilt on the top. But what I found is this Wookiee underquilt, you know, you can't adjust how tight it is, and it was too tight, and it was compressing the down between that Wookiee, the down in the war bonnet orange quilt here, between the Wookiee in my hammock. So I wasn't getting any of the insulation value of the orange quilt under my butt. So I got up in the middle of the night, or not in the middle of the night, but 9 o'clock, and switched it around and put the Wookiee underneath and the orange hammock gear on the outside. So that did a lot better. The orange quilt, you can adjust the suspension and how tight it is, so it was no longer compressing the insulation and the down underneath my butt. So I did stay warm. Other thing I learned last night, and I've seen it in videos, but I had to experience it myself, is condensation and frost. So you can see on my bug net here, all the frost from the moisture coming out of my mouth freezing. Camp is all broken down. Burning off the last bit of firewood. Have some apple cinnamon oatmeal and some hot chocolate. Just enjoying the last of this morning out on my camp out. The trip was a success. Got a little bit of a hike out this morning, but just gonna enjoy the solitude of this morning. The doors one must hit. Why, thank you, Yoda.
This is the end.
Hey, it was a great camping trip out here in Minnesota in the middle of winter. My first time Subzero, first time in a long time solo. I learned a lot of lessons about camping in the snow and the cold that I can use when I go out on longer trips out in northern Minnesota or wherever, a longer away from home, a couple nights out. So it's all about confidence and being able to do it. But hey, it's beautiful outside, even in the middle of winter. So get out on the trail, see Mother Nature. If you like this video, check out one of these other 2 videos, or do me a favor and hit that subscribe button over there. We'll see you on the trail.